Welcome back to another episode. It is Tuesday. The Giants are coming off a tough loss yesterday to the LA Dodgers, losing 6-4 in 10 innings. Um, Not all bad though. There was a lot of good things to come from that game, and a lot of good things to come from the last weekend series against the Reds. I told you guys on the last episode I put out last night for the minor league update that I was going to be talking about the Red series as well as the game yesterday, and talking about kind of where I think the team should go from here, at least going forward at the current moment. Doesn't mean my opinions are fluid on a lot of these things. I'm always trying looking at it objectively, and I could see a couple different routes on how this season could end up going. But there has been a lot of excitement in the last four games, starting with Elliot Ramos, and factoring guys like Casey Schmidt, Luis Matos. Jordan Hicks gave us a great outing yesterday against LA, battled against a really good lineup, held his own. Even a couple of the veterans are coming through with some big plays. And, it's just, I kind of want to talk about my opinions on where they need to go from here. So, as everyone's aware, obviously there's been a ton of injuries. Jung-Hoo Lee's now out, Conforto's out. Soler should be back soon, but he's currently out. Nick Ahmed is out. Patrick Bailey, they're reevaluating now. He was nauseous, and they're trying to figure out if they're related to his concussion symptoms. Um, so they're kind of in a spot where they're forced to bring up a lot of young players right now. And I think right now is the perfect time to let these guys play virtually every day for at least a few weeks. Now, some of them, Elliot Ramos, I'm looking at you. I think he deserves to play for a long time, even when guys come back. Like he should get to keep playing, especially when he's playing like he is now. But he has earned the right to be playing basically every day for the foreseeable future. And he's flashing four tools regularly, at least. The power is there. Obviously, he's not hitting the home runs, but just look at the exit velocities. He's regularly hitting balls 105 to 108 miles an hour off the bat. His single yesterday was 100, and that gave them the lead late in the game, was 108.1 mile per hour exit velocity. And for those that don't think exit velocity matters and translates, I mean, that was literally the difference between it getting through to the outfield or not, was him hitting it that hard. So, yeah, I think eventually the power is going to come, but he is showcasing it with the exit velocities he's producing. His sprint speed is in the 74th percentile. He's flashed the glove. He's flashed the arm, which he has a cannon for an arm. You look at him, he's only played like 40 defensive innings so far, and he's worth 4 defensive runs saved in and out above average. So, by almost every metric, like 4 of the tools are showing. And I know I always hear that some of the disappointment in him as a prospect has been he hasn't developed into the 5 tool guy that everyone hoped, but he has potential to be like above average in 4 tools. And his hit tool, that's going to be the question, if he can consistently get the bat on the ball. And so far, 36% strikeout in a very small sample size. But you look at the quality of the at bats, and they're still good quality at bats. Like the strikeouts to Yamamoto yesterday, he, it was like an 8 pitch at bat or a 7 pitch at bat, and he got front door curveballed on a filthy curveball that buckled him. Like, guy, that's going to happen. This is the major leagues where the major league pitchers are just disgusting. I mean, we saw Landon Roop do that to Mookie Betts this season once. So even the best hitters have pitches like that freeze them. So he still chases a little bit. The chase rate's down, I think 6% from what it was last season. So, and his strikeout rate and the chase rate are still a bit high. His walk rate's a little lower than what you're used to seeing in the minors. I think as he gets more reps, the walk rate's going to go up a little bit. The other two will go down a little bit, and it'll be closer to the what you're used to. I don't expect him to hit 300 plus, here out on the season, but I do also think he's going to start showcasing some of that power. I mean, you watch him, he's up there trying to do damage when he has count leverage. This is something I've complained about with some of the current guys on the Giants, where they're so passive at times. And I don't get that with Ramos. Ramos is up there wanting to hit. Like, he knows this is my opportunity. I'm going to go out there and try and prove it every day. And he is doing it so far. So he deserves to stick around. But beyond that, I think this is a perfect opportunity for guys like Casey Schmidt to play every day, Luis Matos to play every day. Let these guys play with the veterans that are still, healthy for the time being, and then reevaluate in a few weeks as guys come back. It does Casey Schmidt hit enough, which he hasn't yet. I think he's up there pressing, it feels like, but he's flashing the leather like crazy. And the play he made yesterday against LA was phenomenal. Deep in the hole on like a one hopper sinking, top spin one hopper at him. And he's showing he's almost every bit as good as Nick Ahmed is defensively. He just needs to hit a little bit. And if he just hits a little, then you're going to live with it. I think anybody would take a 25-year-old with the potential to continue improving over Nick Ahmed, who is what he is. Like, he's defensively really good and he's offensively terrible. So, yeah, Casey Schmidt needs to chase a little less. Yeah, Casey Schmidt needs to, put the bat on the ball more consistently, which as long as they're in the zone, he does, but he chases. And his chase rate right now is like 52%, which is the reason I say I think he's pressing is because having watched him all season at Sacramento, he was not chasing as aggressively there. So I'm sure he thinks like, here's my opportunity. I better do something before Ahmed comes back. But, that's not really an excuse. He's still going to have to show something. But at least for the time being, Casey Schmidt should be playing. Elliot Ramos should be playing. Luis Matos should be playing. I mean, I sent a tweet about this, but the awareness of Luis Matos on that home run, the situational awareness, the being attentive to what's going on with Yamamoto. Maybe a coach got in his ear, but too often we see guys on the Giants come up there and they are super passive first pitch. They watch meatballs go by. They're not ready to hit until they get a strike or until they've taken a couple of pitches. And sometimes even with count leverage. I mean, I've watched a bunch of them with 2-0 or 3-1 counts just spit on a ball that was right there. And watching Yamamoto, especially watching the at-bat against Ramos prior to, a couple hitters prior to Matos, Yamamoto had been struggling to locate his fastball since the start of the game. But his curveball, he was dumping in for strikes repeatedly. And to be aware of that and to sit curveball the first pitch, and when, Yamamoto hung one and he just pissed all over it and knocked it 10 rows up in the bleachers, that was phenomenal. And not enough people give guys credit for stuff like that. But, Luis Matos came up there ready to rake one of those. And, it's the saying, he hang, you bang. And he did. So kudos to Luis Matos. Now, he took some questionable routes in center field. But I think the reality is most of us agree he's not a center fielder. He should be in a corner. He's better suited for a corner. I saw people complaining about positioning in center field. Well, guess what? You know what? The coaches tell these guys where to stand. So if you want to complain about where a guy's positioned, go take that up with the coaching staff, because I guarantee you they're the ones telling these guys where to go. And yeah, he's questionable going back on balls. He's much better coming in on them. So again, I think he should be in a corner. Yeah, should have been in center, but Luis Matos doesn't fill out the lineup card. He's not the guy that put himself there. So maybe they think he can improve. Maybe they look at, he is a 22-year-old. Like, it's reasonable to think that he could continue to get better and improve out there, but that is what it is. But you live with the struggles of these guys, because this has been the most exciting baseball they've played to the season, the last 4 games, especially, watching them against the Reds, where, guys are doing little things. Ramos is throwing 2 guys out in a game, draws a crucial walk right before Chapman hits one over the fence. Casey Schmidt hit a walk-off in a game where Ramos had two hits and an RBI single in that game. Ramos, yesterday, Matos and Ramos produced all 4 of their runs. They drive in all 4 runs. Ramos gets a hit and steals second to set up what would have been the winning run in the 9th, and Matos flew out to left field. But like, these guys are doing a lot of little things too that bring excitement, and they've sparked the team. I mean, you can tell the veterans are hyped up when these guys are playing well. And I think it was a much needed, I mean, obviously it's something a lot of us have been calling for a while, but it was much needed for this team to get this spark out of these guys. Now, is it sustainable? I don't know. I think they could be competitive, even playing, Ramos, Matos, or at least Ramos and Schmidt or Luciano or whoever at shortstop, along with a lot of these veterans, especially when Conforto and Solera are back. But I think right now they should be going every day with these guys, see how the season goes, if they can hang in there. And if they hang in there and these guys come back from the IL, see how guys are playing. I'm of the opinion that if Ramos and Matos are playing phenomenal when Conforto comes back and they're playing better than Yaz needs to go to the bench. Like it's simple as that in my opinion. Or kick Yaz into a platoon with Matos or something. You have to continue playing them. If Casey Schmidt shows he can hit at least as well as Nick Ahmed should be the one going to the bench or getting DFA'd or whatever at that point. Like you have to start making these moves because what they were doing before was not working. It was boring and they were bad. I mean, you are what your record is. Marty Lurie always says you can really judge a team after 40 games. Well, after 40 games, the Giants sucked. So, like, I'm sorry, but I'm calling it how it was. So, at least let's see what they can do for right now and make adjustments as guys come off the IL. But I don't want to just see, I don't want to see a guy like Elliot Ramos playing well and then boot him right back down to Sacramento. I mean, he's earned his shot. He's earned his spot. He's earned more than Austin Slater has at this point. I don't care what Austin Slater has done in the last few years. This season in more at bats, this season in less at bats, Elliot Ramos has more hits, more RBIs than Austin Slater and more assists in the outfield, more any useful statistic you want to use. He's been better. So he should be the one that gets to stick around. And then beyond that, we'll see how the season goes. If this season goes down the tank, at some point they're going to have to start selling guys off and, going I'm not going to say you're not tanking, but you're going to have to just embrace the youth and kind of embrace the suck for the season at that point. Their season is kind of hanging in the balance right now. I get it's May. They're 5 games under 500. That's not the end of the world right now, but with all the injuries, it does have the potential to go south quickly. They are going to need to start winning some games. Now the schedule gets a little easier here after this Dodgers series. Hopefully they can at least split the last 2 games. But we'll kind of see where it goes from there. But I'm not going to sit here and say I think they need to go full dive into the youth, but they do need to have at least 1 or 2 of these kids playing every day, in my opinion. So tell me what you guys think. Tell me if you guys think I'm like way off base here, if you agree with me on this. As always, if you like this content, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be back tomorrow on NorCal Sports Network, hanging with Dan and Eric. And then Thursday, as we're doing every week, Dan is going to be joining me back over here. The other Dan is going to be joining me for our weekly talk. I can tell you right now, even regardless of kind of how the next 2 days go, I'd be willing to bet the tone is going to be a lot better and a lot less grumpy and frustrated as it was last week. Last week with playing the vets repeatedly and just beating our heads against a wall, it was really frustrating. And I'm sure it came through in the video, and I apologize for that. That's not how we don't want to just sit here and, complain every week, but quite frankly, if people don't want to hear us complain, the Giants just need to give us a better product. And right now, the last week with all the kids playing, it's been a better product. It's been a much more fun product to watch. And I hope a lot of you agree with that because, the players they're using are exciting. Guys like Ramos with flair, Matos pimping a home run off of their $325 million pitcher. I mean, it was just way more exciting to watch a game like yesterday, even though they ended up losing late, which stinks. But, I've always said you can either win with veterans, you can win or lose with the youth, but you can't lose with veterans. Like, that's the reality. You can't just that is unacceptable in my book. So, all right. That's all I have for today. Tell me what you guys think. Other than that, I will catch you all tomorrow on NorCal Sports Network. Have a good one and beat LA.